At 5:47 a.m. on December 19, 1944, Sergeant Michael Joseph Kearney crouched in frozen mud 200 yards behind the Ardennes Forest tree line, watching 48 German soldiers advance through morning fog. He was 30 yards from his foxhole. 9 Americans behind him. 130 caliber machine gun, 47 magazines, 16 M2 anti-personnel mines buried in 4 kill zones across the German approach route. Except Kearney's mines weren't placed the way the Army Corps of Engineers manual specified. They were wired in series circuits, 4 mines per tripwire, 1 trigger, 4 simultaneous detonations. A pattern that violated every regulation in the field manual. A pattern that would either save his position or prove everyone right that he was an idiot. The German assault line moved in extended formation. 20-yard frontage, 48 soldiers in 3 waves of 16 each. Textbook Wehrmacht doctrine. The kind of human wave assault that had been overrunning American positions for 2 weeks. The smell of pine and frozen earth filled Kearney's nose. His breath condensed in white clouds. 200 yards away, German boots crunched on frost. The metallic taste of fear sat on his tongue. His hand rested on his rifle, not on the detonator. The mines would trigger themselves. If his wiring worked. If the circuits held in 18-degree cold. If frozen ground hadn't shifted the tripwires. If sympathetic detonation didn't waste all 16 mines on empty snow. 150 yards. The Germans kept coming. Young faces visible now through morning mist. Most looked 20 to 25 years old. 1 officer at the front. Lieutenant rank insignia. Confident stride. 100 yards. The lead German soldiers entered Kill Zone 1. 16 men walking into a space 40 feet wide by 20 feet deep. Perfect target concentration, if the wiring worked. Kearney watched that lead soldier's boots, watched each step, watched the distance close between boot leather and 18-gauge steel tripwire buried under 2 inches of snow. In the next 11 seconds, everyone would find out if an electrician from Chicago understood combat better than the entire Army Corps of Engineers. December 1944. The Ardennes Forest. American defensive positions were hemorrhaging men to German infantry assaults at rates that made the casualty lists read like mathematics textbooks. The tactical problem was brutally simple. German assault doctrine used human wave tactics. 20 to 30 soldiers advancing in extended line formation, sometimes more, always coordinated, always aggressive. Standard American mine defense placed M2 anti-personnel mines 8 to 12 feet apart. Single trigger wire per mine. Independent detonation. The doctrine made sense on paper. Spread the mines out. Cover maximum frontage. Prevent sympathetic detonation from wasting multiple mines on 1 target. But the math didn't work in combat. 1 mine killed 1 German. Maybe 2 if they were bunched tight. The other 28 kept coming, kept shooting, kept advancing until they overran the position and killed everyone defending it. By mid-December, American positions in the Ardennes had lost 147 men defending against German counterattacks, 147 body bags, 147 letters to families, 147 soldiers who'd followed doctrine exactly and died anyway. Defensive mines weren't stopping assaults. They were slowing them down just enough for defenders to die fighting instead of dying surprised. On December 12th, a position near Elsenborn Ridge demonstrated the problem perfectly. 18 M2 mines in the defensive perimeter, placed exactly to manual specifications. 8 to 12 feet spacing, independent triggers. Perfect by-the-book installation. German assault at 0630 hours, 26 soldiers, extended line formation. First mine detonated, 1 German down. Second mine, 1 German down. Third mine, 1 German down. 23 Germans kept coming. The defensive position held for 14 minutes. Then the Germans were inside the perimeter. Close combat. Rifles and grenades and men dying in foxholes. Final count. 3 German casualties from mines, 8 more from rifle fire. Total 11 Germans killed. But the position fell anyway. 11 Americans dead, 4 wounded and captured, 18 mines placed, 3 detonated, 3 Germans killed. 15 mines never triggered because the assault wave didn't step on those specific trigger points. Combat engineers knew the statistics, knew the casualty rates. But they followed doctrine because doctrine was written by officers with engineering degrees and combat experience, and presumably good reasons for every specification. The manual said 8 to 12 feet spacing prevented sympathetic detonation. Said independent triggers prevented wasting multiple mines on single targets. Said the system maximized coverage and efficiency. The manual was wrong. But changing doctrine required going through channels, required field testing and engineering analysis and approval from Corps headquarters, and probably 6 months of bureaucracy while more soldiers died. Unless someone decided doctrine was killing people and broke the rules anyway. Sergeant Michael Joseph Kearney was 28 years old, born and raised on Chicago's South Side. Worked as an electrician before the war, residential and commercial wiring, industrial safety systems. He understood series circuits the way some men understood engines or weapons or women. When you wire lights in series, one switch controls multiple fixtures. The electricity flows through each fixture in sequence. One break in the circuit kills everything, but one trigger activates everything simultaneously. Kearney understood that principle. He'd wired factories and warehouses and office buildings for 8 years before Pearl Harbor. He was drafted October 1942. Army looked at his electrical background and assigned him to combat engineers. 9 months training in England. Mine placement, fortification construction, bridge demolition, field fortifications. All the ways engineers support infantry operations. He landed at Normandy, June 7, 1944. Omaha Beach, plus 1 day. The beach was still covered in wrecked equipment and bodies when his engineering battalion came ashore. 6 months of combat across France and Belgium. Kearney's job was placing mines, defensive positions, protecting flanks, covering withdrawal routes, setting booby traps in buildings the Germans would occupy. His distinguishing characteristic was that he counted everything. He counted mines placed, 432 total through November 1944. He counted Germans killed by his mines, 17 confirmed, maybe 23 total if you included probables. He counted American positions overrun, despite having mines. 9 positions. 63 men dead in those 9 positions. He counted bodies he personally pulled from defensive positions after German assaults. 31 corpses. Some were men he knew. Most were strangers. All of them had followed doctrine. All of them died anyway. Kearney noticed a pattern. Mines delayed German assaults but didn't stop them. The Germans would lose 2 or 3 men to mines, then overwhelm the position through sheer numbers. The mines created a tactical pause, not a tactical victory. His crew chief was Technical Sergeant Robert Chen, second-generation Chinese-American from San Francisco. Chen had been a mechanic before the war. He understood how things worked, how things broke, how to fix them when they did. Chen noticed Kearney sketching electrical diagrams in his notebook one evening in early December. They were in a farmhouse near Malmedy, waiting for orders, cleaning equipment, staying warm. Chen looked at the sketches, saw mine symbols, saw wiring diagrams, saw circuits connecting multiple mines to single triggers. "What are you drawing?" Chen asked. Kearney looked up. "Something that'll either work or get me shot. Haven't decided which." Chen studied the diagram for 30 seconds. You're talking about series detonation, multiple mines on one trigger. Yeah. That violates about 12 regulations. Yeah. Could work, though, if you wire it right. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Chen sat down, looked at the diagram again. Problem is the blast interference. 4 mines going off simultaneously. You get pressure wave overlap. Could enhance the kill radius. Could also create dead zones between the mines. I know, Kearney said. But right now we're getting 1 kill per mine. Maybe 2 if we're lucky. Germans lose 3 guys and keep coming. We need to kill more of them per mine. Otherwise, we're just wasting explosives while they kill us. Chen didn't argue. He'd pulled bodies from overrun positions. 2, he knew the math wasn't working. You planning to test this? Chen asked. If I get the chance? You'll need help. Can't install series circuits alone. Too complicated. You volunteering? Chen thought about it. Thought about the positions they'd seen overrun. Thought about 31 bodies and 9 failed defenses, and the fact that doctrine wasn't saving lives. Yeah, Chen said. I'm in. But if this goes wrong and we blow ourselves up, I'm going to be really pissed at you. Kearney almost smiled. Deal. December 14th, 1944. The position that broke Kearney's faith in doctrine. Lieutenant David Morrison commanded a defensive position 2 miles east of Malmedy. Strategic crossroads, important for supply lines. Morrison had 18 men, a mix of infantry and engineers. Orders were simple. Hold the position. Deny the crossroads to German forces. Kearney's engineering team was assigned to place mines around Morrison's perimeter. Standard defensive layout. 24 M2 anti-personnel mines. 8 to 12 feet spacing. Independent triggers. Everything exactly per the manual. Kearney and Chen spent 4 hours placing those mines. Dug the holes, set the charges, installed the trigger wires, checked every connection. Professional work. Perfect installation. Morrison walked the perimeter with them afterward. Young officer, 26 years old, West Point graduate, smart, professional. He thanked Kearney for the mine work, said he felt better knowing the approaches were covered. Kearney told him the mines would slow the Germans down, give Morrison's men time to establish fire superiority. Standard tactical advice. Morrison nodded, understood, went back to organizing his defensive positions. Kearney's team moved to their next assignment 500 yards away. Different position, same defensive preparations. December 15th, 0630 hours. German assault on Morrison's position. Kearney heard the gunfire, heard the explosions. Couldn't see the fight but listened to the radio traffic. Morrison's voice on the radio. Calm at first. Reporting German assault. 32 soldiers. 2 waves. Requesting artillery support. Artillery wasn't available. Everything was committed elsewhere. Morrison's position was on its own. First mine detonated at 0632. Kearney heard it. Distinct sound of M2 anti-personnel mine. Probably killed 1 German. Second mine. 0633. Third mine. 0634. The radio traffic got more desperate. Morrison reporting Germans inside the perimeter. Close combat, requesting immediate support. No support available. Morrison's final transmission came at 0644. 14 minutes after the assault started. His voice was different. Tight, scared. He said Germans were in the command post. Said they couldn't hold. The transmission cut off mid-sentence. Static after that. Kearney and Chen reached Morrison's position 40 minutes later with a relief force. Too late for Mottram. Relief. Just recovery. 13 Americans dead. Morrison was one of them. Shot twice in the chest. Died in his foxhole. 3 more wounded. Captured by Germans, later recovered. German casualties. 7 bodies found in the perimeter. 4 were in or near mine craters. Kearney stood in that position for 20 minutes. Looked at the mine craters. Looked at the American bodies. Did the mathematics. 24 mines placed. 4 detonated. 4 Germans killed. 20 mines never triggered. Never got a chance to kill anyone. Just sat in the ground while Germans walked past them and shot Morrison and his men. 11 Americans dead. Could have been alive if the mines had been more effective. If more Germans had died in the approach. If the assault had been stopped before it reached the perimeter. Chen found Kearney sitting on the edge of Morrison's foxhole. "We placed those mines perfect," Chen said. "Everything by the book." "I know," Kearney said. "Wasn't our fault." "I know." But Kearney kept thinking about the 20 unused mines. 20 chances to stop the assault. 20 pieces of explosive that didn't explode. Not because they were defective, because German boots didn't happen to step on those specific trigger wires. Probability problem. Random chance. Bad luck. Morrison died because of probability. That night, Kearney drew his first series circuit mine diagram. Not theoretical this time, practical, detailed, showing exactly how to wire 4 M2 mines to a single tripwire. How to space them. How to connect the firing circuits. How to ensure simultaneous detonation. He showed it to Chen. Chen looked at the diagram for a long time. "That's either brilliant or the stupidest thing I've ever seen." Maybe both. "Morrison's dead," Kearney said. 13 guys are dead. Standard doctrine killed them. We placed perfect mines and they died anyway. Maybe stupid is better than dead." Chen couldn't argue with that logic. "You really want to try this?" Chen asked. Kearney thought about Morrison. Thought about 13 body bags. Thought about 20 unused mines. "Yeah," he said. "I really do. Command's not going to approve it." "Then we don't ask for approval." Chen understood what that meant. Court-martial if it went wrong. Court-martial if it went right, but someone noticed before it worked. "When do we get a chance?" Chen asked. "Soon," Kearney said. "They're assigning me a defensive position. When that happens, we're going to wire it my way. Series circuits. Multiple mines per trigger. We're going to see if mathematics can save lives instead of killing people." 3 days later, Kearney got his orders. Forward defensive position. Expected German assault within the week. 9 men under his command. Time to find out if an electrician from Chicago understood warfare better than the entire United States Army. December 15th, 1944. 1000 hours. Kearney sat across from Captain James Whitaker in a farmhouse command post 3 miles west of Malmedy. Whitaker was 32 years old. Company commander. Oklahoma. Professional soldier. He'd been in Europe since Normandy. Seen enough combat to know what worked and what got men killed. Kearney had requested the meeting. Said he wanted to discuss defensive mine tactics. Whitaker agreed because Kearney had a reputation for competent work. Kearney brought his notebook, showed Whitaker the series circuit diagrams. "Sir, I want to propose a modification to standard mine placement doctrine." Whitaker looked at the diagrams. His expression didn't change. "Explain," Whitaker said. Kearney explained. 4 M2 mines wired to single tripwire, series detonation circuit, 1 trigger, 4 simultaneous explosions, 40-foot coverage instead of 8-foot coverage per trigger point. Whitaker listened without interrupting. When Kearney finished, Whitaker was quiet for 10 seconds. Then he said, "That violates every regulation in the manual." "Yes, sir." "You want to wire 8 mines to 2 triggers instead of 8 mines to 8 triggers." 4 triggers, sir. 4 kill zones. 4 mines per zone. 16 mines total. Whitaker studied the diagram again. The manual specifies independent detonation for specific reasons. You're proposing to ignore those reasons. The reasons are based on resource efficiency, sir. Don't waste multiple mines on single targets. But in practice, we're wasting mines by spreading them too thin. Germans walk through our minefields losing 2 or 3 men. Not enough to stop the assault. Whitaker's jaw tightened. Morrison's position. Yes, sir. 24 mines placed, 4 detonated, 13 Americans dead. That wasn't a mine placement problem. That was a numerical superiority problem. Germans had more men. Sir, if those 24 mines had been wired in series circuits, the German assault would have hit concentrated detonations. Killed 15 to 20 Germans instead of 4. Morrison might have held. Whitaker looked at Kearney for a long moment. You're speculating. Yes, sir. But the mathematics support it. The mathematics also say you'll create gaps in your perimeter. 8 mines covering 40 feet means you're not covering the other 160 feet. Standard placement doesn't cover that either, sir. We just spread the gaps out. Germans still find them. Whitaker stood, paced to the window, looked out at the frozen forest. This isn't my decision, he said. You're proposing a fundamental change to engineering doctrine. That goes to Henderson. Major Paul Henderson, battalion engineering officer, West Point graduate, engineer corps, professional, by the book. Yes, sir, Kearney said. Whitaker called for Henderson. The major arrived 20 minutes later. Whitaker explained Kearney's proposal. Henderson listened with increasing disapproval visible on his face. When Whitaker finished, Henderson turned to Kearney. Sergeant, let me be clear about several things. First, mine placement doctrine exists for specific reasons. Safety during installation, predictable coverage patterns, resource efficiency, these aren't arbitrary rules. Yes, sir. Second, your proposal creates multiple problems. Sympathetic detonation risk. If one mine detonates prematurely, it could trigger all 4. You'd waste your entire kill zone on empty ground. I've calculated the spacing to prevent that, sir. 10 feet between mines, outside the sympathetic detonation radius. You've calculated. Based on what data? Field testing, laboratory analysis, or theory? Theory, sir. Electrical circuit theory and explosive specifications from the M2 technical manual. Henderson's expression hardened. Theory. Sergeant, men die when theory meets reality. I've seen it. You're proposing to risk American lives on untested electrical theory. Sir, American lives are dying under current doctrine. Morrison's position was overrun due to numerical inferiority and lack of supporting fires, not mine placement. Morrison's mines killed 4 Germans. If they'd killed 15, he might have held until support arrived. Henderson shook his head. Might have. Maybe. Possibly. Speculation doesn't change doctrine, Sergeant. Here's what I know with certainty. Your proposal wastes resources, creates vulnerabilities, violates established safety protocols, and risks catastrophic failure during installation. Sir, I understand your frustration, but regulations exist for reasons. This idea wastes resources and endangers your team. Request denied. Kearney started to speak. Henderson cut him off. That's final, Sergeant. You'll place mines according to standard doctrine. 8 to 12 feet spacing, independent triggers, no modifications. Understood? Yes, sir. Dismissed. Kearney stood, saluted, walked out. Master Sergeant Thomas Riley was waiting outside. Explosives Disposal NCO, 40 years old, Tennessee. Riley had been handling explosives since 1935. He'd overheard the conversation through the thin farmhouse walls. Riley caught Kearney's arm. "Sergeant, I heard what you proposed in there." "Yeah. You planning to try it anyway?" Kearney looked at him. "No, Master Sergeant. I was given a direct order." Riley studied his face. "Uh-huh. Well, let me tell you something. I've seen what happens when mines detonate too close together. The blast interference is unpredictable. Pressure waves interact. Sometimes they enhance the effect. Sometimes they create dead zones. Sometimes they trigger chain reactions that waste your entire defensive line. I've calculated the spacing. You've calculated theory. I'm telling you reality. You try this. You're going to blow yourself up during installation. Or you're going to waste every mine you place when one premature detonation triggers the whole series. Or you're going to create gaps that get your men killed." Kearney said nothing. "Follow the manual, Sergeant. It's written in blood. Every specification exists because someone died proving it necessary." Riley walked away. Chen found Kearney 10 minutes later. "Heard that went well." Henderson said no. Riley said, "I'll kill myself trying." Pretty clear message. "So we follow orders." Kearney looked at the forest, at the snow, at the defensive positions where men were digging foxholes and preparing to die following doctrine. "Yeah," Kearney said, "we follow orders." But that evening, Kearney received his position assignment. Forward defensive position. Grid coordinates placed him 800 yards ahead of main American lines. Natural German approach route. Expected assault within 72 hours. Personnel assigned, 9 men, 5 combat engineers, 4 infantry for security. Equipment authorized, 16 M2 anti-personnel mines. Standard defensive allocation. Expected German assault strength, 30 to 40 soldiers. Historical survival rate for similar positions, 23%. Kearney did the mathematics. 9 men, 23% survival rate, meant 7 of his 9 men would die in the next week, unless something changed. That night, Kearney couldn't sleep. Lay in his bedroll thinking about numbers. 13 Americans dead at Morrison's position. 63 dead across 9 overrun positions. 147 casualties in the Ardennes through mid-December. All following doctrine. He thought about his 9 men. Learned their names that afternoon. Private Eddie Collins, 19 years old. Farm kid from Iowa. Joined the Army 17 months ago. Never been in combat. Assigned to Kearney's team 4 days ago. Scared. Trying not to show it. Corporal Frank Murphy, 34, father of 2 daughters. Boston, machinist before the war. Solid, reliable. Worried about his family. Private First Class James Diaz, 22, Los Angeles. Second-generation Mexican-American. Quick with languages. Served as translator when they captured German prisoners. Sergeant Robert Chen, 29, San Francisco. Kearney's crew chief. Friend. The only other man who understood what Kearney was trying to do. Technical Corporal William Hayes, 27, Detroit. Explosive specialist. Careful. Professional. Never made mistakes. Private Vincent Romano, 20, Brooklyn. Tough kid. Street smart. Good in a fight. Private First Class George Patterson, 23, Seattle. Quiet. Read philosophy books when he had time. Shouldn't be in combat, should be in college. Private Leonard Kowalski, 25. Chicago, same as Kearney, Polish neighborhood. They'd discovered they'd grown up 6 blocks from each other. Talked about home sometimes. Corporal Marcus Johnson, 28, Alabama. Black soldier in a segregated army. dealt with more than just German bullets. Tough, resilient. Deserved better than what America gave him. 9 men. 7 would die if statistics held. Kearney kept thinking, which 7? Collins, the farm kid? Murphy, the father? Patterson, the philosopher? Which 2 would survive? Would Kearney be one of them? Would he survive to write letters to 7 families, explaining how their sons and husbands and fathers died following regulations? He got up at 0200 hours, found Chen awake in the next room. Can't sleep either? Chen asked. Did the math, Kearney said. 23% survival rate. I know. 7 dead. Maybe you, maybe me. Definitely some of them. Chen was quiet. Henderson said doctrine exists for good reasons, Kearney said. He's right. But doctrine is also killing us. Morrison followed doctrine. Died anyway. Those 9 positions that got overrun, all had mines, all placed correctly, all following regulations. 63 men died doing exactly what the manual said. So what are you saying? Kearney looked at his notebook, at the series circuit diagrams. I'm saying we have 16 mines. Under standard doctrine, maximum 16 German casualties, probably fewer. We'll kill some. The rest will overrun the position. 7 of us die, maybe all 9. Or, Chen said, or we wire series circuits. 4 kill zones, 4 concentrated detonations, potential for 24 to 32 German casualties, enough to break the assault, enough to survive, enough to get court-martialed. Henderson said reality doesn't care about theory. He's right about that too. Reality is Morrison's position. Reality is 13 body bags. Reality is I can follow orders and watch my men die, or I can break orders and maybe keep them alive. Chen thought about that. You're really going to do it? Yeah. When? Tomorrow night. Installation takes 4 hours. We'll work in darkness. By the time anyone notices, it'll be done. What if it doesn't work? What if Riley's right and the blast interference creates dead zones? Then we die following my stupidity instead of dying following their doctrine. At least I'll know I tried something. Chen was quiet for a long time. Then, I'm in. You need help wiring the circuits. You'll get court-martialed too. Don't care. I pulled bodies from Morrison's position. I'm not pulling bodies from ours. Murphy, Hayes, and Romano need to know. Can't install 16 mines without them noticing. They'll help. Murphy's smart. He'll understand the math. Hayes knows explosives. He'll see the logic. Romano will do it because he trusts you. What about the others? Don't tell them. They follow orders. If the brass asks questions later, they can honestly say they didn't know. Kearney nodded. That made sense. Protect the privates. Let the NCOs take the risk. Henderson specifically ordered standard placement, Chen said. You disobey. That's not just breaking regulations. That's direct disobedience of a lawful order. That's serious. I know. Could mean prison, dishonorable discharge, loss of rank and pay, everything. I know. Just making sure you understand what you're risking. Kearney looked at his notebook again, at the 9 names written on the page, at the statistical probability that 7 of them would be dead in 1 week. I understand what I'm risking, Kearney said. But I also understand what I'm saving. Henderson can court-martial me. I can live with that. Can't live with Collins getting shot because I was too scared to break regulations. Chen didn't argue, just nodded. Tomorrow night then, Chen said. We wire your series circuits. Either it works or we all die trying. One more thing, Kearney said. What? If this goes wrong, if I get killed installing them or they don't work in combat, tell Henderson he was right. Tell him I was an idiot. Tell him I'm sorry I got men killed. And if it works? Kearney almost smiled. Then tell him his doctrine was killing people, and mine saved them. December 18th, 1944. 0300 hours. Temperature 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Clear sky. Half moon providing minimal light. Ground frozen solid 4 inches deep. Kearney, Chen, Murphy, Hayes, and Romano moved out from the defensive position, carrying entrenching tools, 16 M2 anti-personnel mines, 200 feet of 16-gauge copper communication wire, wire cutters, electrical tape, and 4 wooden stakes for marking kill zones. Location: forward slope 200 yards from their foxhole line. Natural German approach route. Slight depression in terrain providing concealment for advancing infantry. Perfect ambush zone. They moved in silence. German listening posts were within 300 yards. Sound discipline was critical. Kearney had memorized the terrain during daylight reconnaissance. 4 slight depressions in the slope, each depression roughly 40 feet wide. Germans would use those for cover during their advance. Standard infantry tactics. Those 4 depressions would be the kill zones. Kill Zone 1. Easternmost position. 60 yards from American foxholes. First depression Germans would reach. Kearney marked it with a wooden stake, pointed to positions for the 4 mines. Murphy and Hayes nodded. Understood. The challenge? Frozen ground. Hayes tried his entrenching tool on the first position. The blade bounced. Ground was too hard. Digging would take 20 minutes per hole. Make too much noise. Chen solved it. Poured water from his canteen on the ground. 8 ounces. Waited 3 minutes for surface penetration. The water melted the top 2 inches of frost. Hayes tried again. The tool bit. Progress. Slow progress. But progress. 0317 hours. Hayes began digging the first mine hole. 8 inches deep, 6 inches wide. M2 mine specifications required specific dimensions for proper detonation. The digging took 14 minutes, twice as long as normal. But quiet. The frozen ground didn't crumble, didn't make scraping sounds, just compressed under the tool blade. 0331. First mine placed. Hayes set the M2 carefully, checked the firing pin housing, confirmed the detonator was properly seated. Standard safety. Procedures. Then Kearney did something non-standard. He took 18 inches of copper wire, stripped both ends, connected one end to the mine's trigger circuit, left the other end exposed. Did not install a trigger wire. Hayes watched, said nothing. He'd been briefed, knew what Kearney was planning, didn't agree with it, but trusted Kearney enough to help anyway. Second mine position, 10 feet east of the first. Chen dug this hole while Hayes worked on the first. 14 minutes digging time. Third mine, 10 feet east of the second. Romano dug this one, 16 minutes. He was less experienced, took longer. Fourth mine, 10 feet east of the third. Murphy dug it, 13 minutes. Professional work. 0402 hours. 4 mines placed in kill zone 1. 40-foot coverage. 10-foot spacing between each mine. Now the critical part. The wiring. Kearney had calculated the circuit requirements. 4 mines in series. 1 trigger closes the circuit. Electricity flows through all 4 firing circuits simultaneously. All 4 mines detonate within 0.003 seconds of each other. Effectively simultaneous. The circuit had to be wired in parallel, not series. Series meant electricity flows through each mine sequentially. If one mine fails, the circuit breaks. Parallel meant each mine has its own connection to the power source. One failure doesn't stop the others. Kearney connected the exposed wires from all 4 mines to a junction point, used electrical tape to secure the connections, wrapped it tight. Weatherproof. From the junction, he ran a single wire to the tripwire position, 20 feet west. Buried the wire under 2 inches of snow and frozen pine needles. The tripwire, 20-gauge steel wire, stronger than copper, wouldn't break from animal contact or wind, would only trigger from human weight against it. Kearney anchored one end to a pine tree, ran the wire across the approach path, 18 inches above ground, optimal height for catching a soldier's boot or shin, anchored the other end to another tree. Total length, 60 feet. Covered the entire kill zone width. Connected the tripwire to a simple spring-loaded striker mechanism. Standard M2 trigger assembly. When the wire pulled, the striker closed the electrical circuit. Chen tested it with a battery. Connected the battery terminals to the circuit. Checked each mine with a continuity tester. All 4 showed ready. Circuit was good. Disconnected the battery. The mines were now armed but safe. Wouldn't detonate until something pulled the tripwire. 447 hours. Kill Zone 1 complete. 4 mines, 1 trigger, 64 pounds of explosive force ready to detonate simultaneously across 40 feet of frontage. Time remaining, 3 hours until dawn. 3 more kill zones to install. Kill Zone 2, 40 yards west of Kill Zone 1. Second depression in the terrain, same procedure. Chen poured water. Hayes dug holes. Romano, Murphy, Kearney placed mines. 10 feet, spacing, 4 mines total. Parallel circuit wiring, single tripwire. Incident at 0521. Romano dropped a wire spool. Metallic sound. Not loud, but loud enough. All 5 men froze. Voices in the distance. German. Someone had heard something. The voices got closer. Kearney could hear words now. German soldiers discussing whether they'd heard something or imagined it. Estimate. 2 Germans. Patrol. Moving toward their position. Kearney's hand went to his rifle. Chen's did the same. If the Germans found them during mine installation, they'd have to kill them silently. No gunfire. Couldn't alert other German positions. The voices stopped. 50 yards away. Maybe less. Hard to tell in darkness. Then, machine gun fire. German MG-42. Firing blind into the area. 200-yard range. The Germans didn't know where the sound came from. Just firing to suppress potential threats. Rounds snapped through trees overhead. 30 caliber bullets. Tracers every 5th round. Red streaks in darkness. All 5 Americans pressed into frozen mud. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. Waited. The firing lasted 30 seconds. 60 rounds. Maybe 70. Then silence. The German voices faded. Moving away. False alarm. They decided it was an animal or falling branch. 0526. Resume work. Hands shaking now. Adrenaline. But the work had to finish before dawn. 0603. Kill Zone 2 complete. Kill Zone 3, 40 yards west of Kill Zone 2. Third depression. Faster installation now. Everyone knew the procedure. Muscle memory. Despite cold. Despite fear. Despite knowing German patrols were close. 0638. Kill Zone 3 complete. Dawn approaching. Eastern horizon showing gray. Visibility increasing. 1 kill zone remaining. 25 minutes until full daylight. Not enough time for careful installation. They rushed. Hayes dug faster. Less careful about noise. Had to finish before Germans could see them. Murphy placed mines without full safety checks. Necessary risk. Time pressure. Chen wired the circuit in 8 minutes. Normal time was 12 minutes. He skipped the redundant connection checks. Trusted his work. Kearney installed the tripwire while Chen finished wiring. Didn't anchor it properly, just tied it to trees. Hoped the tension would hold. 0703. Kill Zone 4 complete. All 16 mines placed and wired. Dawn had arrived. Eastern sky orange. Visibility 300 yards. Too much light. They were exposed on the forward slope. If Germans looked this direction, they'd see 5 Americans lying in snow near obvious disturbed ground. Camouflage had to wait. Had to get back to defensive positions before full daylight. They moved fast. Low crawl, dragging equipment, leaving obvious tracks in snow, reached their foxholes at 0718, 15 minutes after dawn. Barely made it. Chen checked Kearney's hands. They were shaking, not from cold, from realization of what they'd done. "It's done, Chen," said Ardennes. "Can't undo it now." Kearney looked at the minefield. From the foxhole, he couldn't see the mines, couldn't see the wires, just saw 4 depressions in forward slope that looked natural. "Either it works or we're dead," Kearney said. "Or court-martialed," Chen added. "Rather be court-martialed than dead." "Me too." They waited. Cleaned their equipment, checked their weapons, tried to act normal. At 0800 hours, Captain Whitaker visited the position. Routine inspection. He looked at the defensive positions, checked fields of fire, asked if mines were placed. "Yes, sir," Kearney said. 16 M2s, defensive pattern." He didn't mention series circuits, didn't mention unauthorized wiring, just reported mines placed. Whitaker nodded, satisfied, walked away. Kearney and Chen exchanged looks. They'd just lied to their company commander, added that to the list of violations. Now all they could do was wait for the German assault. Wait to see if series circuits saved lives or wasted resources. Wait to see if Kearney was genius or idiot. The answer would come in less than 24 hours. December 18th through 19th, 1944. 36 hours between installation and assault. Kearney's position. 9 men spread across 200-yard defensive line. 3 foxholes. 1 machine gun emplacement, overlapping fields of fire, standard defensive layout. The men knew German assault was coming. Intelligence reports confirmed it. Increased patrol activity. Radio intercepts mentioning their sector. Aerial reconnaissance showing German troops massing 2 miles north. Question wasn't whether Germans would attack. Question was when. Private Collins approached Kearney at 1400 hours on December 18th. The farm kid from Iowa, 19 years old. First combat assignment. "Sarge, those mines you placed, they gonna work?" Kearney looked at him, saw fear, saw youth, saw someone who'd never seen men die. "They'll work," Kearney said. "How many you think they'll get?" "Enough." Collins wanted more reassurance, wanted guarantees. But Kearney had none to give. "Get some rest," Kearney told him. "Eat something, check your ammunition. When they come, you'll be ready." Collins nodded. Didn't look convinced. Walked back to his foxhole. Chen sat next to Kearney, cleaned his rifle. Didn't look up. "Kid's scared," Chen said. "Yeah, we all are." "Yeah." Chen finished with the rifle, started on his pistol. "If this goes wrong, if your wiring doesn't work, we're going to die badly." "I know. Just wanted to make sure you knew." "I've known since I drew the first diagram." Chen nodded. Went back to cleaning. Evening of December 18th. Temperature dropped to 12 degrees. Snow began falling. Light flurries. Visibility reduced to 300 yards. German artillery fired harassment rounds. 6 shells landed 200 yards north of their position. Random targeting. Psychological warfare. Keeping Americans nervous. It worked. Every shell impact made Collins flinch. made Romano check his weapon again, made Murphy stare at the forward slope where Germans would come from. Only Hayes stayed calm. 30 years old. Combat engineer. He'd been through this before. Knew fear was normal. Knew you just had to function through it. Kearney couldn't sleep. Lay in his foxhole wrapped in a wool blanket. Frozen mud underneath. Cold seeping through layers of clothing. But cold wasn't why he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the wiring. Whether copper wire contracted in cold. Whether frozen ground affected detonation. Whether the tripwires would hold tension or snap from frost. Technical worries. Engineering problems. Things he should have tested, but didn't have time for. The physics. M2 mines used composition B explosive. Stable at low temperatures, detonation velocity unaffected by cold. That was good. But the electrical circuits. Copper resistance increased with cold. Could affect current flow. Could delay detonation. Milliseconds maybe. But milliseconds meant the difference between simultaneous explosions and sequential explosions. Sequential meant reduced blast overlap, meant gaps in coverage, meant Germans surviving in the dead zones. Kearney ran calculations in his head. Ohm's law. Resistance equals voltage divided by current. Temperature coefficient of copper, 0.393% per degree Celsius. At 18 degrees Fahrenheit, that was negative 7.78 Celsius. Below standard temperature, resistance increased by 3.05%. Would 3% resistance increase delay detonation enough to matter? Probably not. The firing circuits used low resistance detonators, 0.003 second variation maximum. Probably. Kearney hoped his calculations were right. Because if they weren't, 48 Germans were going to walk through his minefield and kill everyone in his position. 200 hours. December 19th. Radio intercept. Battalion headquarters called. Intelligence update. German assault planned for dawn. Expected force, 40 to 50 soldiers. Objective, break through American line. Exploit gap. Roll up defensive positions from flank. American response, hold position. No reinforcements available. All reserves committed elsewhere. Expect to fight alone. Translation, you're on your own. Win or die. Kearney woke his team at 0430 hours, 2 hours before expected assault. Time to prepare. Distributed ammunition. The .30 caliber machine gun got 473 rounds, 7 belts. Murphy would man the gun. Hayes would feed belts. Riflemen got 200 rounds each. M1 Garand clips, 8 rounds per clip, 25 clips per man. 2 fragmentation grenades per man. Standard allocation. Kearney checked weapons. All functional. Bolts moved smoothly despite cold. Firing pins struck cleanly. Magazines seated properly. Romano had a malfunction. His rifle bolt stuck halfway closed. Frozen moisture in the action. Hayes cleared it. Oiled the mechanism. Cycled it 20 times. Problem solved. Collins's hands shook while loading magazines. Dropped 3 rounds in the snow. Had to fish them out. Embarrassed. Scared. Kearney helped him. Said nothing. Just loaded magazines alongside him. Sometimes presence helped more than words. 600 hours. Dawn approaching. Eastern horizon turning gray. Visibility. 200 yards in snow and fog. Not good. Not terrible. Kearney positioned himself in the center foxhole. Command position. Best view of the forward slope. Best angle on all 4 kill zones. Murphy and Hayes in the left foxhole. Machine gun position, covering the western approach. Chen and Romano in the right foxhole, covering eastern approach. Collins, Patterson, Diaz, Johnson spread along the line in individual positions. Riflemen, support fire. Orders issued. Nobody fires until they hit the mines or I give command. No noise. Let them come. Everyone acknowledged. Settled in. Waited. The wait was worse than combat. Combat was action, adrenaline, training taking over. Waiting was thinking, imagining, fear building. 6:30. Light increased. Visibility improved to 250 yards. 6:40. Murphy reported movement. North. Indistinct shapes in fog. Kearney looked. Saw nothing. Then saw shadows. Gray on gray. Could be Germans. Could be trees. Hard to tell. 6:43. Shapes resolved. Definitely soldiers. Gray uniforms. German. Kearney counted. 16 in the first wave. Extended line formation. 20-yard frontage. 5-foot spacing between soldiers. Behind them, another 16. Second wave. 50 yards back. Behind those, 16 more. Third wave. 100 yards back. Total, 48 Germans. Exactly as intelligence predicted. They were heading directly toward Kill Zone 1. 05:47 hours, December 19th, 1944. The German assault began. Sound came first. Boots on frozen ground. Rhythmic. Multiple soldiers moving in coordinated advance. The crunch of frost under boot leather. Mechanical. Disciplined. Then shapes. Gray uniforms emerging from fog at 300 yards, like ghosts materializing from smoke. Kearney counted. 48 Germans. 3 waves. 16 per wave. Extended line formation matching their doctrine exactly. First wave. Extended across 20-yard frontage. Soldiers spaced 5 feet apart. Weapons ready. Moving slowly, cautiously. Scanning for threats. They were heading directly toward Kill Zone 1, the easternmost minefield. First depression in the slope, exactly where Kearney predicted Germans would advance. His calculations had been right about terrain. Question was whether his calculations about explosives were right too. Kearney's position, center foxhole. Rifle ready. But he wouldn't need the rifle yet. The mines would do the work, if the wiring held. Machine gun position. Murphy and Hayes left foxhole. 30 caliber MN 1919. Browning trained on the approach route. 473 rounds ready. But Murphy had orders. Don't fire until Kearney commanded or until Germans reached 50 yards. Let the mines work first. Chen and Romano, right foxhole, covering eastern flank, rifles ready, watching the German advance with professional detachment. Both had seen combat before. Both knew what was coming. The others, Collins, Patterson, Diaz, Johnson. Individual positions. First real combat for Collins and Patterson. They'd trained. They'd prepared. But training didn't equal reality. Kearney could see Collins gripping his rifle too tight. White knuckles, shallow breathing. Kid was terrified. Couldn't blame him. Kearney was scared too. Different kind of fear. Not fear of death. Fear that his innovation would fail. Fear that his men would die because he broke regulations. German advance continued. Slow, methodical, professional. Distance 250 yards, 200, 150. Kearney could see individual faces now. Young men. Most looked 20 to 25 years old. Same age as his own men. Different uniforms. Same fear visible in their eyes. One officer. Lieutenant rank insignia on collar. Leading from the front. Brave, stupid, or both. Officers who led from the front often died from the front. 100 yards distance. First wave entering the approach zone. The ground sloped upward here. Germans would use the slight depressions for cover. Standard infantry tactics. Use terrain. Minimize exposure. Kearney whispered to Chen, "They're doing exactly what I thought." Chen whispered back, "Your wiring better work." 75 yards. First wave now fully inside kill zone 1. 16 Germans in a space 40 feet wide by 20 feet deep. Perfect concentration. Perfect target density. Kearney watched the lead soldier, tall, carrying MP-40 submachine gun, experienced movement. This wasn't his first assault. The soldier stepped carefully, scanning ground, looking for mines, looking for tripwires. Smart soldier, cautious soldier. Wouldn't save him. 50 yards. The entire first wave inside the kill zone now. 16 Germans in 40 feet of space. Dense formation. Exactly what series circuit detonation was designed for. Kearney held his breath. 40 yards. The lead soldier's boot came down, found the tripwire. 5:49 hours. The moment of truth. Kearney saw it happen. Saw the lead German's boot catch the wire. Saw the wire pull taut. Saw the tension transfer to the trigger mechanism. The circuit completed. Electricity flowed from the battery through the striker. Through the copper wire Kearney had buried. Through the junction point connecting all 4 mines. Into 4 separate firing circuits simultaneously. 4 M2 anti-personnel mines received detonation signals within .003 seconds of each other. 4 detonators fired. 4 explosive charges detonated. Technical specifications. Each M2 mine contained 3 pounds of Composition B explosive wrapped in a steel fragmentation coil. Detonation velocity, 25,800 feet per second. Kill radius, 15 feet from point of detonation. Fragment effective range, 50 feet lethal, 100 feet wounding. 4 mines meant 12 pounds of explosive force. But not 12 separate explosions. The detonations occurred so close together, in time and space, that blast waves overlapped. Physics of overlapping explosions. Pressure waves reinforce each other. Peak overpressure increases by 40 to 60% in overlap zones. Fragmentation density doubles where fragment cones intersect. The result? 16 pounds of effective blast force instead of 12. Continuous fragment coverage across 40-foot frontage instead of 4 separate 15-foot circles. What Kearney saw: 4 orange fireballs erupted simultaneously across the German assault line. The fireballs merged into one massive explosion, smoke and flame and debris lifting 40 feet into morning air. What Kearney felt: blast wave hit his position 1.2 seconds later. Concussive force, pressure wave, snow blown from trees. His ears popped. The ground shook. What Kearney heard: the explosion itself was surprisingly brief. Sharp crack, deep boom, then silence for 2 seconds, then screaming. German voices, wounded, dying, calling for medics, then nothing. Smoke cleared slowly. Took 8 seconds. When visibility returned, 16 Germans were gone. Not retreating, not wounded. Gone. 14 bodies visible in the blast zone. Twisted, torn. Fragmentation had done its work. Steel fragments traveling 4,000 feet per second had shredded flesh and bone and equipment. 2 Germans wounded. Both crawling. Both bleeding. Both combat ineffective. One was missing his right leg below the knee. The other had fragment wounds across his torso. Neither would survive without immediate medical attention. German medical attention was 2 miles away. 0 Germans from first wave still combat effective. Kearney's innovation had just eliminated 16 enemy soldiers in 1 instant. But the assault wasn't over. Second German wave. 16 soldiers, 50 yards behind first wave. They'd watched their entire first wave disappear in fire and smoke and blood. Standard Wehrmacht doctrine. Second wave continues assault, regardless of first wave casualties. Maintain momentum, overwhelm defender before they recover. But these soldiers hesitated. 3 seconds of pure confusion. 16 men gone. Just gone. No gradual attrition. No fighting withdrawal. Just instant annihilation. Their officer shouted orders. Continue advance. Assault the position. Don't stop. The officer was the same lieutenant from first wave. He'd been in second wave position. Now he was ranking survivor. Now he had to lead. He advanced. His soldiers followed. Discipline overriding fear. They moved faster now, running instead of walking, trying to close distance before more mines detonated. Smart tactic. Wrong execution. Running meant tighter formation. Soldiers bunched together for psychological comfort, for courage, for the illusion of safety in numbers. Worst tactical decision. Tighter formation meant more casualties per mine. 70 yards from American position. Second wave formation. 15-foot frontage instead of 20. Same 16 soldiers. Denser concentration. They were heading toward kill zone 2. Kearney watched. Calculated trajectories, predicted movement. They would enter the kill zone in 12 seconds. 60 yards. The German lieutenant leading from front again, either brave or suicidal. Hard to tell the difference in combat. 55 yards. Second wave entering kill zone 2. Slight depression, natural cover position. Germans using it exactly as Kearney predicted. 50 yards. German point man, experienced soldier, combat veteran. He was scanning ground, looking for disturbed earth, looking for wire. 48 yards. He saw the tripwire, started to shout warning. His boot caught the wire mid-shout. 550 hours. Second detonation. Same pattern as first. 4 M2 mines. Simultaneous detonation. Overlapping blast waves. Continuous fragmentation coverage. But tighter German formation that meant better effect. 15-foot frontage. 16 soldiers. All within optimal fragment range of all 4 mines. The explosion was identical to the first. 4 orange fireballs, merged blast wave, debris cloud 40 feet high. The result was worse for Germans. 16 soldiers in kill zone, 15 killed instantly, 1 wounded. The survivor, the German lieutenant. He'd been at edge of formation, caught fragments in left arm and left leg. Bleeding. Down. Couldn't stand, couldn't fight, just lay in snow screaming. Total German casualties at 550. First wave, 16 soldiers, 14 killed, 2 wounded. Second wave, 16 soldiers, 15 killed, 1 wounded. Total, 32 soldiers engaged, 29 dead, 3 wounded. Time elapsed. 11 seconds across 2 detonations. American casualties, 0. Ammunition expended, 0. Kearney's 16 mines, 8 detonated. 29 German casualties. Standard doctrine with 16 independent mines. Maximum 16 casualties. Likely fewer due to missed triggers. Series circuit doctrine. 29 casualties from 8 mines. Efficiency increase. 3.62 times better than standard doctrine. The mathematics worked. Third German wave, 16 soldiers. 100 yards back. They'd witnessed both detonations. Watched 32 men die in 11 seconds. No officer visible. The lieutenant was down. Wounded. Whoever commanded third wave wasn't stepping forward. These soldiers broke. Standard discipline collapsed. Training failed. Fear overrode orders. Some turned and ran, full retreat. 6 soldiers running north toward German lines. Others went prone, seeking cover, hoping to be invisible. 7 soldiers flat in snow. 3 soldiers continued advance, either braver than their comrades or didn't understand what happened. They moved forward. Scattered formation, wide spacing, survival instinct overriding doctrine. 25 yards from American position, machine gun range. Kearney gave the order. Murphy, open fire. The .30 caliber M1919 Browning hammered. Cyclic rate, 550 rounds per minute. Murphy fired in controlled bursts. 6-round bursts. Professional gunnery. Tracers reached out. Red streaks in morning fog, every 5th round visible. 3 Germans advancing. First burst caught one center mass. He dropped immediately. Second German dove left, seeking cover behind tree. Murphy tracked him. Second burst. Fragments of bark and wood. Then blood. German down. Third German turned to run. Murphy's third burst caught him in the back. He fell forward, didn't move. 6 Germans still running north, 200 yards away now, out of effective rifle range. Let them run. Let them tell others what happened here. 7 Germans prone in snow, 120 yards out. Scattered positions. Riflemen opened fire. Coordinated shots from 5 positions. Collins fired first. Missed. Too excited. Poor trigger control. Patterson fired second. Hit. German at 130 yards. Center mass. German stopped moving. Diaz fired third. Hit. Another German down. Johnson fired fourth. Missed. Target shifted position. Romano fired fifth. Hit. Third German down. 4 Germans remaining. They abandoned cover. Stood. Ran. Murphy swung the machine gun. Fired sustained burst. 15 rounds. 2 Germans fell. 2 kept running. Chen fired. Missed. Long range. Moving targets. Difficult shot. Hayes fired. Hit. 1 German down. Last German, still running. 180 yards. Moving fast. Kearney aimed. Led the target. Calculated wind. Calculated movement. Squeezed trigger. The German fell. 5:52 hours. Engagement over. Duration, 5 minutes from first German visibility to last German down. German casualties, 30 killed in minefield. 7 killed by rifle and machine gun fire. 3 wounded in minefield. Total 40 engaged, 37 killed, 3 wounded. American casualties, 0 killed, 0 wounded. Ammunition expended, 8 mines. Approximately 80 machine gun rounds, 30 rifle rounds. German assault completely destroyed. Kearney sat in his foxhole, hands shaking, not from cold, from realization. It worked. The series circuits worked. 8 mines, 30 German casualties. His innovation had just saved 9 American lives by killing 30 Germans in 11 seconds. Chen climbed out of his foxhole, looked at the kill zones, looked at the bodies, looked at Kearney. Jesus Christ, Mike, it actually worked. Kearney couldn't speak, just nodded. Collins was vomiting in his foxhole. First time seeing mass casualties, first time seeing what explosives do to human bodies. Murphy sat behind the machine gun, staring at nothing. Combat veteran. He'd seen death before. But not like this. Not this efficient. Not this sudden. Hayes checked the machine gun. Professional habit. Cleared a jam that hadn't happened. Needed something normal to do. Something routine. Romano stared at the minefield. Sarge, I've never seen anything like that. Kearney found his voice. Status check. Everyone okay? Acknowledgements came back. All 9 Americans alive. No wounds. Some shaken, but alive. Kearney calculated. Historical survival rate, 23%. Statistical prediction, 7 dead. Actual result, 0 dead. Difference, series circuit mines. Henderson had been wrong. Riley had been wrong. Doctrine had been wrong. And Kearney had been right. Now he just had to survive the court-martial.